Let's go!
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bingetown TV. We have a little bit of a smaller roster today to cover 1899. We've lost Jimmy for this episode. He's a very, very busy guy, so he couldn't squeeze us in. So we'll try to do our best in his absence. We are covering episodes 3 and 4 on this podcast episode. Episode 3 titled The Fog, episode 4 titled The Fight. If you listen to our episodes 1 and 2 discussion, which I hope you would have, we kind of just freeballed it. It's just a show, and I'm assuming you've watched the episode, so you know too. Things pop around a lot. Covering 2 episodes at once also kind of makes it hard to just do like chronologically everything that happened. So we're gonna just try to hit on the biggest points. We'll start a conversation that'll inform conversation after that, and then we'll probably at some point, maybe even in the middle at the end, we'll like try to kind of check boxes to make sure that we touched everything that we were looking to touch. So Luke, you can give your, I guess, just like initial thoughts on the 2 episodes. I'll give mine, and then we can just dive into it.
Sure. So these 2 episodes were great. I binged them immediately, literally immediately after we clicked stop on our last podcast. And then I had to wait a couple of days until we could finally get together and actually record on these. So I've just been very excited. I'm anticipating that I'm going to watch at least episode 5 tonight as well after finishing this conversation. But they were great. And one thing that I did not see coming is this style of each episode kind of having its own main side character where we're getting their backstory in this very unique way. And I do want to talk about that, if it's more just a unique way of having these people with these crazy lives and crazy like mental history things of life-changing events is why they're seeing them, or if there's something physically causing them to actually see these visions. And that could be
Yeah.
like a plot point, but we could talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, this Ling Yi one was cool. It definitely was a chessboard piece mover. I kind of liked episode 4 a little bit more because like it felt like this was all rise until we finally got to like the mutiny, and that's kind of what we've been waiting at. I think we even said that this is going to happen in
Yeah.
episode 2 coverage, so we kind of knew it was going there. But again, the more time we spend with these characters, I'm loving how my opinions are changing, because Jerome is now one of my favorite characters, where originally I didn't really care that much. But he is like top 3 characters in the show for me. And then this Daniel, the boy mystery, that's kind of the backbone of everything behind Maura. It's so intriguing, and I just know every guess in my head is going to be wrong, and I can't wait until we get more information and we can start narrowing down what the hell we're actually watching here.
Yeah, definitely. And it also is, I think I'm glad that we didn't really get anything more about like the TV screens. I feel like, yeah, because they're kind of almost like taking us away from that. And I'm sure it's gonna come back around and just like hit us in the face completely. They just continue to do an amazing job of ending these episodes. I know we talked about that over text, but like, I mean, fuck, the ending of episode 3, I would agree. I think episode 4 as a whole was better, but the ending of episode 3, I thought was just like a holy fuck. I literally like stood up and just started laughing because I was like, these motherfuckers they just completely keep you guessing, I guess you could say.
That was the biggest dark moment so far of this
Yeah.
show. Just like seeing that actually happen, because
Yeah.
as someone that's probably never seen the show Dark, like you're coming into this, some fuckery is going on, like something is crazy, but you don't know the level of sci-fi that these guys are willing to go and to make it make sense and make it satisfying. And they finally just like both the
Yeah.
end of episode 3 and 4, because holy shit, the end of episode
Yeah.
4 was like, it just, there's so many possibilities now that my mind was just constantly racing as I was just typing down bullshit that I know
Yeah.
is just fake.
It's funny too. I would say that episode 4, for someone who has watched Dark and then I guess is getting into this show now too, like episode 4, the ending was almost expected. As like insane as that is, like it was, especially because Maura's like, oh, he almost like seemed like he was accepting his death, and I was like, yeah, he was. Like, there's no way that that's like the end of him, and then he just pops right back.
I got some
All right.
thoughts on that, but I don't want to.
Yeah, but
prematurely
that'll probably be
say
the
it,
last
yeah.
thing. Yeah, the last thing we talk about.
Mhm.
So again, I mean, a lot of stuff happens. I think you mentioned too. I actually like what you said about how we're getting kind of like one side character is the focus for the episode. Who do you think? I guess episode 1, maybe. I don't know. Maybe Crester, honestly. Episode 1, episode 2, maybe Angel.
See, that was the thing. That's why this kind of hit me out of nowhere, because it seems like we're getting into this formula now where I don't
Yeah.
think it was so explicit before. I think episode 1 was just introducing everybody rather than having a specific character. And did we get many flashbacks in episode 2? It's all kind of blending together because we're
I don't
doing
think
this
we
so
did.
quickly.
I
Yeah.
don't think we did. The only,
I
actually, I mean,
will
the
comment.
only weird, like, and I'm sorry to step over you, but the only weird thing is, um, Captain Ike kind of like travels between worlds a little bit, for lack of a better way to say that.
Well, that's kind of what Ling Yi does too, because when she's like in
Yeah,
the
that's what I
box on
mean.
the ship. Yeah, okay, so it was Ike. It was mostly Ike for episode 2 at least. I feel like he
Yeah,
got the majority of the flashback, so that makes sense. And maybe one was kind of Maura in the opening where you see a little bit, but she's gonna
yeah,
get like the finale or something like that, where it's gonna be all about her father and brother and whatever was going on in the quote unquote like mental asylum.
yeah. And it's, I mean, I was glad that they gave us. We're starting to get the backstories on these characters. I thought Ling Yi's was good.
Hmm.
Um, just interesting, obviously devastating for her that she ends up killing what is supposed to be her friend. Although she was, had somewhat of a nefarious plot and that she was trying to pretty much take her life
Hmm.
and go to America. Doesn't go well. I, I don't know. I was when she's in that box and she gets teleported, and I was like, oh my god, here we fucking go. Like what? I don't even know. I don't think I have a guess yet on what that stuff could be.
So like my original guess was going to be that it was literally something to do with the fog, kind of spoiler, a little bit like Mistborn, what's going on there with like the mist and actually like affecting people. But the fact that it was episode 3 titled the fog and it was a huge focus here, I don't think they really showed it too much in episode 4 as being a cause of why Jerome would have been seeing things, because he was,
Yeah,
it felt a little different. I don't know where that's going, but I hope it could be Daniel related and using some of his crazy tech to actually, and it could have been needed to actually teleport the ship at the end that it ends up
fair
doing.
enough.
But
Yeah,
again, not enough pieces for me to really
yeah.
firmly say an opinion. Um, yeah.
I do like how they're just consistently setting up Olek to be like a good guy. Like, of
Hmm.
course, he's the one that finds her. He gives her his coat. It's just like this guy. Would they just
He
want
does have
us? I love
like
him.
nice main character vibes, but like he's obviously not going to be the main character.
No.
He should get an episode. I'm hoping he gets a full flashback coming
Yeah,
soon.
because we
He's
got
Polish,
he has
right?
like yes,
Yeah.
yeah. He has like that postcard. I feel like that's the only thing that we really know about him.
Right.
He has the postcard, so we'll
Yeah.
see what happens with that.
But jumping
Good.
back into the Ling Yi stuff, because what I wanted to say about this was actually I was surprised at how straightforward her backstory was. Like nothing really seemed surprising. Like we just needed the information. It's like, okay, all that kind of makes sense. The thing that I mean, are we just gonna open talk about the whole flashback? Because it's there's not really that much there. She kills Mei Mei by accident. It's a great name. Um, but what I fixated on was the thing was this is much before this takes place way before she's on the ship, and is it called the Komodo? Am I making that up? Kimono?
Oh
The
yes, yeah, yeah. I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about the name of like the little raft they were on in the river.
No,
I
no,
was
no,
like, I
no.
didn't catch the name of that.
The what Mei Mei holds up, the kimono or
Mhm.
whatever, her outfit, it has the triangle symbols on it. So that's
Yeah,
implying that the reach of the company, which we get verbal confirmation in one of these 2 episodes, that that is the symbol of the company that bought out these cruise ships.
yeah,
Um, like what does that mean? Because it means that the reach is way before and outside the scope of just what is happening with the Prometheus versus Cerberus. And that to me is crazy. This is like a predetermined kind of like storyline where it's pulling all of these characters together for a reason, and I didn't think it was going to be that way.
yeah. Because we also find out that other people were getting more envelopes too in these episodes,
Yes.
which is even more interesting. Yeah. So that was they opened episode 3 with the symbol on her outfit, and I was just like, God fucking damn it. So
I
we have
know.
what we have the carpets. Well, the carpets make more sense now that we know that it's the symbol of the company.
Mhm.
But we still have Clements, I guess technically, but I like Clementine. Her earrings, like that, still has to kind of be a thing a little bit. So I guess we will find out, hopefully,
Yeah.
what all that means. Okay, I guess again, just kind of trying to tackle like character level things over like large mystery level things first. Try to, try to crawl before we run. What
Mhm.
else? We get the truth. I mean, we get the truth behind Angel and Ramiro in episode 3. Nothing like insane. It's just that we find out that Ramiro ended up killing the priest, and that's why he has his stuff. Um, Again, their relationship is obviously just completely fractured. who the fuck knows what's going to happen with that. But I don't know if you have any
So
comments on that at all.
I mean, dude, the angel stuff is crazy. Like the angel and the Crester stuff, Crester, right?
Yes.
It just escalates so much, and without any verbal communications besides just sounds to them, and just the way that angel is so just, I don't want to say selfish, maybe cynical is the right word, just how he doesn't, it gets spelled out by Ramiro so well. Like he's like, you don't care about anything, everybody's a tool to you. And like it seems like they are literally on the run for having have killed someone back in Spain slash Portugal, however they ended up meeting up, and he doesn't care enough to like commit to a relationship with this guy.
Yeah.
It's very weird how it's going to play out. But Ramiro somehow turns on to the, I'll say good side, because he like works with the captain. I'm going to assume anything Captain and Maura related is going to be good side. It's
Yeah.
just
I had
crazy
them
how
in
it's like
like the good
splitting.
guys.
Yeah, exactly. So is Angel, I know he gets spited by Crester in front of the mom Dane in the next episode, but like it seems like they're probably gonna be on the same side. I don't really know where that's going. It's just such
Yeah.
a weird dynamic.
I would say Angel. I guess Angel. Mrs. Wilson's definitely going to be on the side of the Danes, I would say. So then, I guess by extension, we get Lingy and her mother on that side. But I feel like
Mhm.
Angel seems to be someone who's kind of in the middle. He almost has a foot in both camps at this point. And yeah, I mean, you're right. It seems like they're implying that like their relationship got exposed and then they had to kill a priest and now they're running away from that. And then Ramiro basically gets broken up with and cheated on the
Mhm.
boat while they're in their getaway, which is like completely fucked up. So
So
I can
fucked
uh
up.
I can imagine the animosity boiling inside of him.
Mhm. They don't have much else this episode, right? Like they have that wild jerk off scene, which is just crazy.
Yeah, that was intense.
It's just
Again,
like, what
just
the
with
fuck?
like the no words needed. Just it just kind of worked out, I guess, in a weird in a weird fucking way. Um,
Star-crossed lovers, baby.
yeah, but we do, and I guess like I mentioned earlier, Mrs. Wilson has an envelope. We do find out, I believe it's in episode 3. Not really much else from her this episode, except she does know that Ling Yi in some way is not who she thought she was,
Mhm.
because she inspects her hymen to find out that she's still a virgin, which
Mhm.
was just also an uncomfortable scene as well. What else could we learn? We learned Lucien and the seizure stuff.
Yeah.
He just kind of goes out when he's with Ling Yi, and I thought it was interesting that she just kind of like kneels next to him and puts her hand on his shoulder. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I don't know what I was expecting out of his whole thing, but it does make sense.
Yeah, I mean, he also goes on to say it actually explains a lot, because he says he basically can't get hard when he takes the medicine. So that's why he can't bang Clementine. But again, she continues to be one of the most interesting characters, because she still gets those weird shots of like her by herself with like the facial expressions of like betraying of whatever she just said in the scene before with Lucien or whoever she's around. So
Yeah,
I'm still sticking with the theory that she is part of like the family that kind of owns the ship company. But actually, now I'm thinking about it, I feel like her and Jerome are like legit. Like that's gonna happen. Like they're gonna hook up. And then
I'm
if
into it.
that's the case, though, she's not like, I don't think she would be in on it. Like I think it's gonna be one or the other. Either she's like part of this whatever's all these cameras watching all these people, and she helped put the shipping company, her family could be owners of the shipping company, and she's just playing in this game knowing she's like fucking with everybody basically.
That
Or
would be
I'm just
crazy.
overreading into it, and then the earrings are basically just like Ling Yi's the outfit with the symbol on it, because it could be that where it's just a coincidence, and like they're being brought together by like not fate but by whatever this power that Daniel's like harnessing is, because this seems to be bigger than just like a person doing things in technology. Like there's going to be some like higher
Yeah,
force or something here.
I think that us seeing that Ling Yi's outfit has the symbol on the back of it tempers my expectations of what Clementine's up to,
You're
because it
right.
feels like it's just like an accessory, you know, like it could just be like a brand thing almost, not anything
Yeah,
more
you're
than
right.
that. But also, you never know. I mean, she just is still with her is still very interesting because we do get where we do have that extra level of mysteriousness where Lucien's commenting on her parents.
Hmm.
Um, and that's all we know. So we can take that a million different ways. I'm sure it could just turn out to be literally nothing special, but I'm sure it actually means something if they're actually going to put it in there.
Yeah. So I
Okay,
think
I
we
feel
could
like
just cover some
yeah,
of the Dane stuff too, because I think that's one of the first things that happens. Is just the aftermath naturally of Ada being dead,
yeah,
and the natural progression of this is going to be, you know, more mistrust is being sowed with all the Danes, and it's more than the Danes, right? Isn't this just everybody? Because I feel like they kind of I had a
yeah,
misconception about that because I think it's just everybody that's not in the first class, but then there is like the subset of the Danes who we originally thought was led by Anchor, aka Tom
yeah,
Maryland, but it's actually Mama Dane, who I don't know her name.
yeah. I don't think they ever say.
Yeah, she is
I don't
like
believe
a
so.
bitch.
She's
She's like
wild.
the bitch for them
Yeah,
too.
I feel like it's. I feel like everyone that they've really given us has been Danish.
Yeah, that
You
might be
know,
part of it too.
yeah, because I'm pretty sure the guy. It's in episode 4, but the guy who has like the ginger guy with the beard,
The
who
first
I guess
mate or
no, I'm sorry.
Franz? Franz.
Who's Danish? He's like a ginger guy. He has a beard. He's the one who's pointing the gun at the first mate, and he's like demanding all this stuff. And he's also the one
Okay.
with the key that locks everyone in their doors. I'm pretty sure
Yep.
he's Danish as well. So it does seem like I've just been calling them the Danes, I guess, in my head, and while I've been taking notes.
Hmm.
Maybe unfair, but that's kind of the way I've been doing it.
Yeah. But some of the things I saw, I noticed at least in this scene, I was surprised that they actually brought back Dr. Murray to be a doctor here because I thought like the whole thing was he was like a joke doctor and didn't
Yeah,
actually take anything seriously. But what he came to the conclusion was that this was a natural heart attack or a stroke that killed Ada. So it's very similar to Death Note, honestly, just the
yeah,
deaths of all these people, which we didn't see how Daniel killed her. And it could be something to do with the bug, like maybe the beetle goes into you and kills you or something. It's going to be something weird like that because by the end of next episode, like a bunch of these bodies are just
yeah.
popping up everywhere.
If so,
And
yeah, that Beatles working
yeah,
fucking overtime.
well, some of those bodies were from the Danes doing the mutiny, and then some were there was like 6 bodies that were found from that were killed in the same way as Ada. But it's just like a mix of just all these
Okay,
literally
fair.
just getting picked off people.
Yeah, it's just so funny to think like it's she's what 8 maybe, and he's like, oh yeah, it's probably a heart attack or a stroke. It's like I don't. The 8-year-olds have heart attacks or strokes. It
Yeah,
seems
that was
horrendously
crazy.
unlikely. Yeah, and he's like, you're letting your emotions get in the way. It's all about Darwin, baby. And I could just, I could totally see. I don't know enough about it, but like back in the day, like when Darwin came out with that and people started to accept it, and just people using that level of reasoning for like the most nefarious bullshit possible.
It kills the weak.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Basically.
literally you could explain away almost anything by just saying
Yeah.
that. All right. I guess,
I'm
and
looking if
that
I have
does.
anything else there.
I feel like that
Not
kind of leads us
really.
right into Mutiny and Ike and Mara, which is kind
Okay.
of we try to save that stuff for I guess the end of things.
So just open, I guess, of just like their progression throughout the episode.
Yeah, why not?
Because we did finally get direct conversation about maybe finally is not the right word. I forget when he got the ribbon of his daughter. Was that was in episode
That's in
one,
episode
wasn't
1.
it?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
He hasn't
So
told anyone yet.
he confirms like this is straight up hers. Like this isn't like a random flower ribbon I found. This is hers. And those are like the exciting little moments of the writing that makes me really excited about whatever the conclusion of that is.
Yeah.
Because like, are we phasing through to visions and we're literally capable of pulling physical things from the visions into this world? Because like that's kind of where I'm going. Like that's where this is leading me to believe. Because like I think Jimmy was bringing it up on when we were covering the last podcast episodes. Like they're doing things in real life, even though that they're seeing
Yeah.
this vision.
Like
So
they're
they're
physically
actually
moving.
physically doing things. So maybe they I don't know what's going on there. If they can bring things in or not, or if it's just going to be more time travel connections. But it's definitely interesting because he's getting Mara on her on they're like teaming up and throwing information out there. They're still lying to each other at this point, especially Mara. I don't know if she's knowingly lying because she gets freaked out about her name being on the listing for the Prometheus, but we can talk about that. That's just like the intro of what these two get into right at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. And he shows her the symbol on his floor. And this is when he does tell us in this scene. That's when we find out that it's the ship company's symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, yeah, I mean, when they're on the Prometheus, because the two of them go back, and again, dude, just the shot of them just like in the safety boat, lifeboat raft, just rowing on the open
Hmm.
ocean just gives me the skeeves, but it is what it is. But
Yeah.
again, at least this time they're there in the fucking daylight and it's not pitch black out while they're inside this fucking ghost ship. So they actually get more things done. But he does give us the good info about the ship company where they bought them and then they spent like what 3 or 4 months on the dry dock and they were making changes to them.
Hmm.
But he said even that, like those tile shaftways should not be there. And we do
Right. It's
find
new.
out that it's, yeah, we do find out eventually that I guess it wasn't really the ship company. We find out that the boy, or that rather the pyramid that the boy has, can make them, which was very unexpected.
So that's what happened, right? When he goes under the bed with the pyramid and then comes out and seemingly nothing happens, is what he did was.
That's what I took it as.
So so now do you think what I'm thinking now is that, like, does the pyramid have the ability to basically swap out pieces from different time periods, I guess,
I
like,
almost, I almost want to say that's the Beatles thing, in a way.
so how does the Beatles thing, how does that relate to the Beatles just like opening doors and shit? Like, it's just.
That's what I, because when in episode 4, when the beetle opens the door, and the Beatles done it obviously in other episodes as well, I just first thought I had was that it's like such a localized impact of like it
Mhm.
is like it itself is like experiencing a time where the door was unlocked and it's like making that the reality, you know,
Okay.
because like it also leads them places and it feels like it knows like what's about to happen, you know, so like it like tells them like where to stop in the hallway and like to get up against the wall, and it
Yeah.
seems like it's almost like not predicting, but that was just kind of what I had thought, that like it has such like a localized maybe time travel ability.
So what's making me question it, maybe it is just straight up the beetle, but what, like, the pyramid
Yeah,
seems
also
to be what pulls in the boy in the end of episode 4 back to the cabinet, like after he fell off the ocean when he got pushed
yeah,
off, right? Like he wakes back up in there. I was thinking like that would be like the similar mechanic that is happening when he goes under the bed and flips, like maybe the ship's rooms or something like that, where it literally pulls down the marble passageway from the other ship and puts it there, just like it would be. I don't know, dude. This is
yeah.
we're getting into complicated
I
territory
know. Well,
now
I'm thinking like
because
he
it's
could
just
just
so
like,
hard.
it feels like, I feel like, and I could just be, this could be complete Mandela effect of, I could have sworn that like there was like scratching. So I'm thinking like he has the pyramid upside down and he's like using one of the points to like scratch in the symbol, and then it like
Ooh,
materializes and then it creates like the shaft there.
I like
So
that.
maybe when he falls off the ship, like all it takes, I mean, for all of, I'm our second Brandon Sanderson reference in this, but like Warbreaker, or I'm sorry, not Warbreaker, Elantris, like he just like he can draw the symbol, and then that like opens the gateway.
Yeah, dude, the symbol is going to be way more than just like the brand of the company, and it's going to be because what is, now I'm questioning, like, if it's obviously going to be very purposeful of like it being the triangle. It's very similar to Dark, but I
Yeah,
have to keep my head away from that because there's no way they're going to use the same twist.
yeah,
What is the line going through it? Is that saying, like, is that supposed, do you think that's like symbolizing you being able to, if like, if time is just like flowing and like the line lets you jump places in time or something, like,
yeah.
dude,
Or almost like, yeah, like it connects 2 points at the same time, like it's the
which
same
might
line touching
kind
two
of make
things.
sense, like even
Yeah,
with the
because
like.
people are experiencing time at the same time.
Oh, that's yeah,
As
that's
weird as
pretty
that
much what it
sounds.
is. It is connecting the past and the present. But I would think more like
But
we're
why a
gonna have to figure out
triangle?
why it's a triangle, yeah, and not
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like a more streamlined like line
yeah,
with like a connect or something. I don't know, but that
yeah,
I think
yeah.
we might be on to
And we might be
something.
onto something, yeah. And also, I mean, I guess another thing too that maybe is against the beetle and the pyramid symbol teleportation thing is that the end of episode 3 is we get Daniel with his little fucking puzzle thing, which
Hmm.
I feel like I've seen them before, but I don't know what the name of that kind of thing is. Like I've seen those puzzles before,
Yeah, I've
but
been
he
calling it
just,
puzzle.
yeah, he just uses it to like light up, or to like use that whatever the fake like steam measurement thing that Ike points out.
So I wanted
And
to
just,
ask about
yeah.
that if you had any, because what happens is I think it's the first mate that gets the
Oh,
telegraphed
true, true, true.
code, and literally just blindly goes in and puts in the code, which activates it and allows Daniel to maybe access it. I think that could be part of it. But again, they weren't too clear about what was going on there and
No.
why he was doing it just blindly, because at that point he seemed to still not want to actually full on mutiny against Captain Ike. So it just felt like a random little thing that they threw in that allowed Daniel's crazy end of episode 3 thing to happen.
Yeah. Well, it was also weird because, and again, I could be misremembering this, but does he not in this scene turn it on the Prometheus? The Prometheus one is the one that turns on at the end of episode 3, and then and then the ship goes away.
Yeah, it is, because it's all dark and then like it
Yeah,
like
yeah,
lights
yeah.
up.
Yeah, so
Wow,
I don't know.
let's just
I
walk away from
know.
that one.
Yeah, we'll maybe leave some meat on the bone for future
Yeah,
discussions
because
with
that
that.
is that is a lot.
Yeah. For
uh,
what limited I have for episode 3, that's all I have kind of written down.
so a couple things that I just want to point out is
Yeah.
Ike, like when Ike and Maura take their excursion back to Prometheus, Maura tells him that she had a miscarriage and she can no longer have a
Mm,
kid. So I don't know how relevant that is, but kind of explains a little bit of her stance on being so protective for the little devil bitch boy.
yeah, I'm feeling
Um,
good that I pointed that out in our
yeah,
last podcast episode.
yeah, no, that's definitely going to be relevant for a character, and it could be because of all the, I think you said, like all the experiments or whatever was going on in the asylum could also be connected to that. Which that theory is still alive. I think. I don't
Yeah,
necessarily think too much happened, except both these episodes start with Mara saying "wake up" to the
I
character that's
know.
getting a flashback, and that
What is
is
that?
like just giving me fuel that this is still like her trying to break them out of the trance in the mental asylum to bust the fuck out. But again, that would be too easy if I could predict that.
Yeah, that would be so crazy if they're all like under, like induced almost in like the same trip, for
Yeah,
complete lack of a better term. I'm sure there's much more better descriptions out there, but like they're all involved and like
it's
interacting with each other inside of it.
I hate to bring this up again, but it's so similar to Sucker Punch. Like if you
Yeah.
remember the plot of that story, how it's like three different realities going on, like which one's real? Are they all real? One of
Yeah.
them's a mental institution, and it kind of is just giving me those vibes a little bit,
I mean, it's a
because that would
fantastic
even
movie, so.
that. I mean, I totally agree.
All right.
But here, hold on, I have a couple more things written down. We brought up that like I briefly mentioned it, but Ike finds the passenger listing in the furnaces on the Prometheus, because they were just looking for body parts to see if that's where all the bodies went, which they
Mhm.
didn't find anything, but we do find out later that it says Mara Franklin's name on the listing.
Yeah.
And I was looking, and it like you can look above and below it because it's in alphabetical order. Her brother's name wasn't on there
Yeah.
if he's a Franklin. Um I don't think any of the other names were relevant, but
I guess we'll
that
see. Yeah. The only
yeah,
other
that's
thing I caught was the names under her were like a family, the French family, but I don't think we have. I mean, who knows? But
Clementine, the owner.
yeah, I just
French
figured it'd be
family.
worth it to clock that.
Yeah.
It was funny too in this scene where she was like, "Yeah, like they could have burned the bodies or whatever," essentially, and I was like, "Oh yeah, like that totally makes a ton of sense why there's no bodies." And then episode 4, we get them like they get Jerome and Oleg to throw the bodies overboard. I'm like, that just makes infinitely more sense.
Yeah.
You're just surrounded by the world's biggest landfill, essentially. Like you might as well toss them overboard instead of just standing there and just like inhaling
I
all
would
the.
have been a little upset if they did find any like teeth or bones in those furnaces. That just wouldn't have been
Yeah,
too fun. I didn't want it to go that way, so I'm happy that it honestly led to Ike distrusting Mara for a hot minute before they like reconcile a little bit, because she seemed mind fucked about the idea of her name being on the listing.
yeah,
So does that mean like it was in the past slash the future? Like what's
yeah. I don't
going
know.
on there? Is
I
she
don't know. I
fake
don't know if you fully
identity?
trust her. Still,
He probably shouldn't.
yeah, I wouldn't.
And
But
she definitely shouldn't fully trust him, because
yeah,
that was the only thing her brother sent to her, said don't trust anybody.
yeah, true. That's a
So
good
like you
point.
should
Yeah,
not even, Ike is the most trustable, but I still wouldn't trust him, because like he's got this baggage that's clearly clouding his mind and making him see visions if they're not real, and if they are real, like we're gonna fucking find out what that
yeah,
is.
for sure. I want to see other people's envelopes now. I want to see what they
I
if they
know.
have if they have like messages on them or in any way like letters.
We haven't seen anything besides the writing, right? Like Mrs.
Yes.
Wilson. Like we don't
Yeah,
see
yeah,
that what's
yeah.
actually
Just
for anybody.
it's just the
Yeah.
names on them. Yeah, and also I do feel like before I guess we leave episode 3 that it felt like Ike left a little bit of info in that fucking incinerator. or in the furnace.
I
Because it
thought
wasn't
so
like,
too, because he
yeah,
only
there
grabbed
was
the
more
one page.
pages. Yeah, like there's
Yeah,
more pages. That'd be funny if they
yeah.
have to go back again. I guess it's not
Uh,
there though.
okay, so the only other thing for episode 3, I think it's just worth pointing out because Franz got a lot of screen time here. He is not the first mate, and he's not Adam Driver. He's the other one.
Yeah,
He's got the cool beard. He actually like it's tropey when like a mutiny like this happens in a show or a movie, but he actually was he was a little bit less pure, just like chaos. Like he was a
yeah,
little bit more controlled. It just felt a little. It felt unique to me, and I'm happy it wasn't like just fitting in the standard trope. Like it ended up being that way, but I felt like Franz has more to offer than just being the mutineer that ends up getting caught and killed in the next couple episodes or something like that.
yeah. It doesn't seem like he's like completely just out for blood. It seems like he
Yeah,
just genuinely thinks that the captain's an idiot and just wants to get back on course.
right.
Yeah, nothing like
Um,
completely nefarious because he does show he has some I don't want to say human qualities, but he's fairly sympathetic when about Ada and with Tova when he like brings her
Tova. I
in.
keep writing. Is it spelled Tove?
Yeah, Tove.
Okay, yeah, that's what's been
Yeah,
throwing me off because I've been like reading that wrong in my head.
yeah. I'm not great at that parts of the world's language, so if it's mispronounced, I'm sorry. I'm sure we're doing it often anyway.
Okay. Two
Yeah,
last things and then we're good. We can completely move on, and it's all Daniel
cool.
related. So, um okay, so after we said how the kid goes under the bed, uses the
Hmm.
pyramid to make the passage there, and then comes out. He quickly has a conversation with Daniel, who was at the door. He opens it, and when Daniel comes in, he says, "Did you have any luck finding it?"
Yeah,
So that is something to talk about. And then also, we were pretty on point with saying that they were working together. Still up in the air if they are the same person.
yeah,
But
true.
what do you think it is that they're looking for? Because it's
Yeah,
not the beetle, it's not the pyramid, and so it's something completely separate because they are the ones bringing that weirdness here. So it's got to be something else. And
it's
it
tough because he doesn't like we don't get any scenes of the boy like looking for anything. Like he just sits on the bed and doesn't answer questions, or he goes and picks up the pyramid. That's the only things we've really seen him do.
right.
So it doesn't look like he has any level of urgency to find like an object.
So if they are the same ship in some way, like Prometheus and Cerberus, maybe there's a second pyramid that they are
Mm,
looking for that could be
fair.
part of it. Because isn't there two bugs confirmed? Like we already saw at least two of them. Doesn't
Yeah,
Daniel and the boy each have one?
that's
I
the
don't
way
know
I took
about
it.
that. So
I took it
yeah.
that way for sure.
So there might be another pyramid, but it's weird because he seems like the person that's here to give us crazy information. Like where could it be if he doesn't already know? Because it seems like he knows everything else, and like he's like pushing all
Yeah,
these pieces. But
and it seems very like there's no way they just got lucky with Mara being the one to take him in. You
right.
know, like Daniel takes up the room next to her, and you could argue that it's because the boy's in the room next to him, but it feels like it's more because
He had
it's
the
Mara's
picture
room.
of her, remember?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's just
So
too. Yeah, it's
yeah,
yeah.
and it's what is the letter exactly say to her? So I found out what our father did. Meet me in New York. Don't trust anyone. Could it be what their father did? Is that what they have to find? But I feel like they made it seem like it's more like an object than like
Yeah,
information.
I agree. Nothing to add there, but
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other
nothing.
piece that I was gonna say though is was just that Daniel. This is like at the very end. I think Daniel and Maura have a quick conversation. He says to her that I lost someone too. So like, not really sure where that's gonna go, but like that's just part of his character, I guess. Just slow trickling this little bits of information we get
Yeah.
about him. That's just part of it.
What if he is her brother, man?
How though?
I don't know. I don't know. I just the brother and the dad seem to be important in some way, and it almost feels like how can they possibly come into the story? Like it feels like what are they gonna do? Get onto the boat? Like do they get to New York
Yeah,
ever and
that's
meet
so
them?
true.
Like how are they ever gonna be characters unless it's like a flashback? And I mean
It's a good question.
that would be okay, but I just feel like there's
So
going to be like there's got to be a way almost that they're like physical characters, at least one of them.
yeah, because they go out of their way to make the dad's face shadowed in the first episode. So that's definitely supports that. Like, why wouldn't you just show him if he's not going to be someone relevant? But it seems like he will be someone relevant, even if it's in other people's flashbacks or something. Like, he is a
Yeah.
character that we're going to see outside of Mara's head, I think.
Yeah, because she thought he was on the ship, and again, and then like the letter, like it just feels like we're going to have to see his face at some point, and
Yeah.
I think that would be crazy reveal if it's like a flashback in it. But like, how would she not recognize him? Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe he like
I
went
don't
into
know.
the future because he has this little localized beetle, and it makes him look older.
Just localized beetle. You love that. But can't undersell it. We already brought it up, but the end of episode 3 was just
Oh
full
my god!
body chills. Just when he rips that thing and like it just zooms out to the ship, and then the fog just like collapses on itself, and then we find out that it basically transports the ship back to where it was before it went off course to save the Prometheus, like three
Yeah,
days ago. So like way south or something like that, I think they said. That was just like, this we are on pace, baby.
I know.
This is dark round 2. Like, let's fucking get it. That's how I felt.
Yeah,
I
I
was
just
so
started
excited. I
laughing.
just started texting people. I was like, fuck yeah. Like, great.
I literally just started laughing. I was like,
Yeah.
like, what the fuck, man?
That's
And
the
that's
moment where you just know we're in it. We're in it for another masterclass showing, assuming they stick the landing of the end, which I full trust they will. Like, this is
yeah,
just the perfect way to build up sci-fi mystery.
yeah. I don't have any like the blind confidence that I have in them is unparalleled to any other
Yep.
like creators or shows or movies or directors, like anything I can think of. Like I know it's gonna be
Totally
gas.
agree.
It's just gonna be gas. I know it. All
Yeah.
right. All right. So I guess now we can just focus all of our conversation. We've obviously dabbled a little bit into episode 4 stuff, but now we can kind of, I guess, focus completely on things that happened in episode 4.
Let's
Again,
start with the whole Lucien and Jerome
yeah,
backstory front to back, just kind of like we did with Ling Yi, because it just makes more sense just to
mhm.
talk about it all together. But this one
and
also does have a wake up.
super satisfying. This was, I think, a great explanation of what they've kind of been hinting at between the two of them.
Yep.
Super into it. I love it. Makes Lucien so much more interesting that he has like this roguish background where he like pretty much almost stole someone's identity or like just kind of
Mhm.
created a new identity for himself, which then got him into like you could probably assume the upper classes, which then gets him this marriage with Clementine that he's not happy in, but I'm sure it's at some way politically advantageous to him. So definitely just deserved to make Lucien a super interesting character. And like you had mentioned earlier, just shooting Jerome up the ranks. This episode was
Dude,
just fantastic for him.
Jerome is top 3 for me now. Like, he might be my favorite character after this episode. Just he is such a badass. Like, he just kicks the shit out of people. Like, he has
Yeah, he does.
the, like, you could say noble part of that backstory. Like, he's obviously the good one. Like, he was even, like, he was just the better, the angel and the devil. Like, he was the angel there. Um, he's great, man. Like, and Jerome's also gonna get my girl, so that's gonna be fun to watch. Like, it's just
Yeah,
wins all
true.
around for my boy.
Oh, see that? Yeah, that might be too tempting though. I could totally see it backfiring where like Clementine is like a baddie and it like totally fucks her boy over and he has like another
I'm
broken
st-
heart.
she could still be bad.
Yeah.
But quickly, while I remember this, because what you just said there actually makes me confused about like how, if everything is predetermined or set in motion by like some force. Um, because like you're saying, like Lucien wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for this scene, but this scene, like this whole flashback couldn't have really been set in motion by anybody but Lucien himself. Like, it doesn't feel like like how Ling Yi,
Yeah.
like that whole thing with the symbol being on her clothes, like that could have been sort of manipulated to a point where we eventually get to where we are. But the Lucien Jerome thing just seems like a cause and effect that just kind of butterfly effect into the way that into them being here coincidentally. It doesn't feel like if Mara's dad is a big player, like moving people into place, like it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like he something caused this.
And it's also it's a similar thing of I mean you could I guess you could say the same thing with Lingy, but it's like how could anyone know about it?
Yeah.
Like it's not like I feel like there's no way Jerome was like just telling everyone in prison and then that got to someone who got to someone who got to someone and then they're like okay let's pretty much throw this like little Hunger Games party or whatever you want to say on this ship and like invite all these people with sketchy pasts.
Well, the only thing I could think of is it's like sort of like Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban time turner kind of thing, where there's someone who is
Yeah.
like literally for Ling Yi, like I can just picture someone being in the shadows, like trying to make this all happen. When she turns her back, he goes and puts in more of the poison, and then like
Yeah.
has to cause this whole thing. But I can't think of a way it would work out for Lucien and Jerome. It's just that's the only way it could kind of work, and time travel is clearly going to be part of this or
Yeah.
something. So
I would love it if it's Daniel. If we get an episode like a Daniel episode and it just like takes us back to those moments, but from Daniel's perspective,
wow, that would be sick.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would
Uh,
explain it right, but I mean, yeah, there's a lot more that would need to fill out around that, but I think that would be a pretty cool idea.
yeah.
But again, Daniel does have this feeling of, like I mentioned last episode, that like he doesn't feel like completely evil. You know what I mean? Like I could totally see him turning out to be like having like a noble quest of him like jumping through the realities of the time and getting control of this device and something to not necessarily do bad things. Like he could be trying to foil the company.
But he killed Ada.
He did, but he says sorry.
He did say sorry.
He apologized before he even did it. But also, I mean, but his goal does seem to be to get the ship to New York too. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
All right.
So let's level set for where we're at here because we did just kind of gloss over like the mutiny actually started taking place, and now in the brig, I'll say we have a freaking squad here:
Nice
Ramiro,
term.
Olek, Jerome, and Captain Ike.
Yes.
They're all in there, and it's just like it's. I always like when you can start seeing the sides like this and just like who the good guys are. They're kind of coming together, and then who the bad
Mhm.
guys are out there. Some wild cards, of course, like especially Daniel, and I would even say Angel's a wild card because like Ramiro is clearly part of this good squad.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Ramiro, but like or sorry, with Angel. And then the Danes and then Crester, who he is if Jerome's shooting up the ranks, he is shooting down the ranks for me.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Crester guy here.
No, I would say the likability's getting fairly low, but he is an interesting character because he has kind of these wavering allegiances all around him. Like I feel like him making a decision on like where he actually stands is going to be a big turning point.
That's what it feels like it's building up to. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be completely honest here, but I totally expected his sister, the pregnant girl, like she comes off as more like mutinous and evil
Yeah.
in the last episode, but then completely flips where I'm just like, wow, she is actually I like her a lot.
Yeah, I was also shocked by that. It seemed like she would have been the one to kind of almost be the leader. Excuse me. Just because the way she acts towards Franz, Big Beard,
Yeah.
in episode 3, she clearly had a lot of anger in her. But it seems like once the realization that the path was going to be getting after the little boy, she was like, okay, well
Mm-hmm.
that's insane. Like, why would we ever do that?
The whole power
That seemed to be
dynamic
the deal
shifted
breaker.
because I felt the same way about Anchor, who is turns out to not even be that into the religion. Like he doesn't even believe
Yeah,
that, and he's the
he's
preacher,
soft.
and it's all just behind the mom. I do like how it just completely flipped on its head because I'm all in for Team Mama and or Pregnant Girl and Anchor, and then fuck the other two, fuck Mama Dane and fuck Crester.
Yeah, yeah. I was just shocked. Yeah, when Crester like it started to translate, and she was like, "No, like, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Holy
Yeah.
shit!" She actually is like caring about this little boy. And that's the first mate too. The first mate, I think, is an interesting character to me. He seems fairly spineless in the sense that he doesn't want to make a decision either way, or like he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
want to go full mutiny, but he knows he doesn't like what the captain's doing. And then here he's like, I guess let's just kill the boy and give them what they want because we got 5 days left on this ship, and all you gave all these motherfuckers guns. So like, we don't really have much of a choice here.
Yeah.
But I think
And
him
like
too.
the
I think him could be like someone who, like, if uh, like a legit decision comes down to him on like a side he has to pick, I feel like him potentially. He's probably more in the bad guy camp right now. But him flipping sides, I think, could be another like kind of pivotal, maybe just a pivotal character moment, but change a little bit of the dynamic of the show.
I feel like we're gonna get. Do we have anyone die these last couple episodes? Has it only really been Ada that's a named character that's died?
Yeah, Jerome was dead for about 2 seconds.
Yeah. Like, cause I'm thinking, I'm feeling like a big death soon. That's gonna have to, maybe that's what's gonna cause Crester to flip is seeing his sister die or something like that. But at the same time, they're playing really into the idea about the baby being
Yeah,
special. So, and I don't hate that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if it is something fun like that, um,
it gave me
but I
weird
don't know what's
vibes
gonna change.
though, like about her pregnancy. this episode because what does he say? He's like, and I literally wrote here, like again, the dad anchor, we call him Tom Maryland because he's in Wheel of Time as Tom Maryland, but he kind of like is talking to her about like it's again, I was getting those like prophesized baby vibes,
Hmm.
and I couldn't tell if it was just like so gung ho religious or not. But like when he's talking about like the devil, we're trying to take everything from us, we can't let that happen, and he's like touching her belly, and she's like not into it at all. And I literally wrote down like I don't know if I'm too Game of Thrones pilled to think this, but like it seems almost like he's the father of the kid. Like I could see that being a thing because later on when
Wow,
her
really?
and Crester, I would not like that from my boy Tom, but I could see it. And like because him and Crester, her and Crester rather later when they have the little confrontation in the hallway, he says to her like you can't keep taking it out on us like what happened to you or whatever, like your misery doesn't trump us or all that kind of stuff, like you have to stop blaming us for what happened to you is exactly what he says. You're
Hmm.
only interested in your own misery, so it makes it seem like it doesn't seem like there was like a planned pregnancy with like a husband,
Yeah.
like I could see
No,
it,
it's just pretty
I could
notable that the
totally,
dad's not there.
yeah, I could totally see it being like the mom thinks she got a vision that like the dad had to like impregnate the daughter to then create like the prophesized child from God.
And it turns out to be the little kid with the pyramid.
Oh yes, yeah.
He's not blonde enough though. I feel
She's
like he's
really
got to be
blonde.
blind.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're fucking
she's
blonde.
really blonde. Well, the seed could be
Yeah.
strong. He doesn't look very blonde. All right,
Okay, so
I knew that was it didn't feel good saying it out loud, but the thought came to me, and I was like, okay, I need to get. I should probably put those thoughts out into the world for people to criticize.
at the same time, it really wouldn't surprise me if like the pregnancy isn't that important.
Yeah,
Like it does feel like they're spending too much dialogue around it, and that was literally a pivotal scene, and in the writing of the episode for episode one's description about the pregnancy. So at the same time, it could go either way. I just how's that gonna fucking connect to Maura and like in Daniel? Like that's the part that matters.
yeah. I mean, we still need to see their backstory, their previous life that they left behind.
Yeah,
That's definitely a
true.
group of people, yeah, that we haven't
It's gonna
seen yet.
probably be through the eyes of Crester, I would
Yeah,
assume.
I honestly would
Yeah,
hope so. I feel like
yeah.
we need to see that scar,
Um,
baby. How to get that scar?
all right, so let's move ahead here a little bit. We covered most of these notes. There was that one moment where we do now have Lucien aware of the fact that Jerome's on board because he freaks out at Clementine and like chokes her out when he sees the medal.
Yeah,
So Jimmy was wrong about that. And I
I was
think,
right.
yeah, that's what I thought. He put the medal in the room, right? Like he brought it because he had it, like without
Yeah,
for a fact. Like he literally had it. So that makes a lot more sense based on
yeah.
like what we were talking about before. Because
And it was a
um
message for Lucien that she didn't understand at all. She thought it was just Lucien's medal.
made yes, made total sense there. And then that gets him like super heated, and he just like kind of runs out of the room after he almost just
Yeah.
kills my girl. So like he better watch him fuck himself. But
He also
um,
says that he's kind of anticipating dying almost.
yeah, because he ends up telling her here about he's epileptic, right? Epileptic, right? Epilepsy, isn't that what it is when you have seizures all the time?
We'll go with yes. I don't know off
Okay,
the top of my head, so
I think that's what it is.
yeah,
And so he says, like, yeah, like he's gonna die very soon, and that makes total sense. The year is 1899. I'm sure the medicine is
yeah.
not that
He pretty much
good.
he
So
calls this medicine potassium bromide. They haven't even thought of a brand name for it yet, so there's not some schmucks out there trying to monopolize it. So it's probably pretty early.
so he gets heated and ditches. So now what am I looking at here? Okay, we do have it's just funny because we had to bring it up. But the coal workers have another conversation about the
Great,
wolves. And it
I love
actually
them.
does we misspoke and said werewolves, I think, and they actually bring it up
Yeah,
here, which
that
is
was
even
really
funnier
funny.
because he's just wearing garlic around his fucking neck like an idiot.
I love those guys though. They're so funny.
Yeah, yeah.
And also
They're fodder. They're gonna die.
another goofy thing, not about the show, but me watching the show, because I guess this is a nice light moment to bring it up, is that I started this episode and didn't realize that I guess someone else had been watching them, like maybe Kathleen or someone, and it was stuck on dubbed English. So when this episode opened up, like Lucien and Jerome are speaking to each other in English in the trenches, and I was like, these motherfuckers are speaking English. Like, what's going on? Like, what reality are we in right now? And then I checked. I was like, oh, I'm watching the dubbed version.
Has to be Kathleen, wasn't me.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was like, what happened to the whole language barrier thing? I thought that was an
Mhm.
important part of the show. All right, I threw us off course there a little bit.
But that coal scene just leads into Daniel kind of walking behind him and connecting to the electric breaker thing on
Yeah,
this ship. So again, they're not really being too clear about what the heck's going on there, but
yeah.
like
It also
by
was
design
a different. I mean, it's not in the same
spot.
location. Yeah, as well. I guess the first mate uses like the buttons thing, and then maybe that like is connected to that thing somehow. Because it's not like they were in the same spot. Because that like the little panel that he opens up with the buttons is where they drop the lifeboats from, and
Yeah.
this thing was in like the coal area, like the furnace area.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll get more about it, but
Mm-hmm. I don't. At this point, we're kind of just having some of the rescue squad making their way to. I don't even want to call them rescue squad because like they kind of get out themselves, right? Because Ike and Ramiro end up getting out through the vent, but they do end up all coming together right where the lifeboats are, which I was kind of getting hype around that point because like this is just such a good squad
oh yeah,
of the people before Crester sees them and comes in and just kind of ruins the whole day and then Jerome gets shot there. But
yeah,
just like this felt cool to me. Just like all my favorite characters were just coming together at one point. Nothing works out that easy, of course. And I think some of them someone's following the bug. My notes are a little hectic here. Who is it it's the little boy brings
yeah.
Maura
So yeah, that's happening. Yes, yeah, yeah. That happens at that point. Nothing happened. I
because
mean,
like
like,
okay, so what happens here is the boy is continuing to not talk to Maura, but then eventually says like okay, like I'll get us out of here. They're locked in there and he uses the beetle in front of her, which is kind of noteworthy because now she's very aware of the beetle being more than just something she saw on the
yeah,
ship and in her vision. She knows it has the ability to freaking do magic basically, and then that's
yeah,
what leads them to the other squad. I think that's like kind of like the middle of the episode.
yeah. And this is also, I mean, the whole ship at this point is looking for the boy.
Yes.
They've already brought Mara, like, caught her out of her room. They bring her back to her room. They look around. The boy was hiding in the little tiled shaft that we find, and then so that's why they kind of have to sneak around. And I mean, the only comment I have about that, and we've kind of already said it, that I was just shocked that the mom is the one who's leading this. Like everyone is is like
Just
answering to
listening to
her.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy. Because you get
And
that
then she
wild
takes it.
scene. Good.
Yeah. Were you gonna bring up the angel thing?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I was just about to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, because like when they go in to check out what's going on in Angel's room slash Ramirez's room, I don't know if that stopwatch thing is going to be relevant or if that was just part of Angel's backstory, whatever it is. But she kind of power moves him and just drops it right in his face, and then she looks at Cressler. She's like, I wish you died instead of Ada,"
Yeah,
causing
that was
him to think
nuts.
that he needs to reprove herself to her and spits in Angel's face, which clearly he's like into Angel. So like that's going to be a weird dynamic going forward.
Yeah, that was
That's
tough.
just like a weird scene. Yeah.
That was tough. And I guess before we just something that happened, I guess it's just a quote that I want to bring up that I really liked is when Mara first gets caught and she gets brought to Franz because he's kind of, I guess, now technically almost the captain. He's the leader of the mutinous
Yeah.
sailors, and he tries to tell her like you don't know. He's not the man you think he is, rather. And she just claps back at him and says, "No, you're not the man you think you are." And I was like, "Let's go." I don't hate Franz, but that was a fire bar right there.
She's riding for Ike. It's kind
Yeah,
of
she
cool.
really is. She really, really is. And
Yeah.
also, I guess one thing we didn't mention is that when Jerome and Oleg are like dishing the bodies, Jerome has that like experience when the guy like opens his eyes.
Wait,
Do you remember that at all or no?
say what's going on? Who opens
when
his
when
eyes?
they're when they're picking the bodies up and throwing them overboard, and Jerome like turns back to grab an older guy,
Oh,
and his
yeah.
eyes open, and he like it's like a little bit of a flash, and then like he freaks out, and then they look back, and the body's not there anymore. I mean, it seemed like it was like again like another one of his flashbacks where like he might have been like back in the war, and it was
Yeah.
a body, and then he came back to quote unquote reality. Who knows what we're actually in? I
Mhm.
just thought that was an interesting scene.
I forgot that that happened, but yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. I'm
yeah, that
wondering
was
if we're gonna get more visions like that because it could just be isolated to his own backstory episode. Like, I'm
yeah.
sure Ike needs to have more visions about Nina and his wife and his family and stuff, but we haven't gotten it since it was his episode. So I don't know if like again, that kind of lends itself to making it everything is happening in their heads. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing actually magical about the visions besides them just reliving trauma. I don't really know where it's going, but we need to see it again from a character that we've already seen it from for me to kind of like have a better idea of what they're doing there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, at this point, we can kind of, if we want to chat about like the not the fight, but I guess the initial confrontation where they actually get the boy. Um, it's not like any like overarching plot things here. It's just Jerome continues to be a fucking savage, where he's just like knows what's happening isn't right and reaches for the hammer and then gets clipped.
Yep.
I, I mean, I for a second thought he was dead. The way they acted, he was dead, and
I
then he,
I totally did too.
yeah, it was
Um,
so whack. But then
but
this is actually the scene where we get the full truth of everything, where Lucien's putting on the code and they get in the fight, and he gives them the medal.
right, and then like Lucien tries to be a good guy, saying like, oh, we'll make it so like you
Yeah,
only go to prison for a little bit or whatever it was, or I'll make it easier on yourself. But again,
yeah,
fuck that. I was happy when he grabbed him and was choked him out and killed him. He's like
yeah.
trying
Well,
to actually just
I was just shocked that he only got like grazed in the arm.
yeah,
Like I
bad
thought
shot
he
by
got,
France, and they just left him like he wasn't
yeah,
gonna stand up.
I thought he got shot like somewhere else. And then again, this could
Lucky.
be me just like thinking too hard about it, but like, is it again another thing where like something happened where like the bullet like moved because he went back into like a vision? Or did he actually only get shot, clipped in the arm, and that knocked him out and dropped him enough for long enough that everyone like, how was he not just like, ah,
Yeah, I don't know because literally the next thing that happens is they bring all of these prisoners and throw them into the second class area and lock the door there before Jerome just gets up and kicks everybody's ass. I don't
yeah,
know what they were thinking of not carrying him in and throwing him in there too because he clearly wasn't going to die. But maybe I honestly, if they do go back and not retcon it, but like make it so that is the reason where it did change the bullet, that'd be sick.
yeah,
And I'll give you credit for that one because I did not
yeah.
even think about
Well,
that. That'd
I
be
mean,
cool though.
like the beetle's there. The kid has the beetle on him.
Very true.
So that localized beetle effect,
Could it totally
where
could be.
it takes him back to a time where Jerome was actually standing in a different position, because Jerome's been in that room a lot, a lot.
Damn, I want it now. I want the localized control.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little disappointed if it's not. But
If we don't
and
get an
then
explicit answer how that motherfucker's opening doors, like instantly when it crawls
yeah,
under the door, like we need that. At least
yeah,
that.
it just feels
And
like,
yeah.
and it's gonna be too hard on the spot to think of it, but I just feel like there's like an anime, like a manga character that has an ability like that. It almost reminds me of like Aizen being able to do that, but I don't know if it's actually true. I'll have to look it up
It's kind of
after this.
like I don't want to say it's I'm thinking of like Balefire a little bit. Not
Oh
really.
yeah, why
But like
not?
how it
Also,
changes.
like, yeah, a little bit like Fourth Hokage with
Yeah.
the kunai that have the marks on him, and he can teleport to them, but not
Yeah.
really because he's
There's
not.
something there.
It's just him changing location, not time, so it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
All right.
So
And
this is
speaking
the
of,
night on board now, if we're ready to get into
yeah,
that.
yeah, and just before we dive into that, I guess, or no, I mean, I guess this is probably the same thing of like we get the parallel speeches of Jerome busting in.
Hmm.
And I mean, great scene. He says some awesome things, but thank God we have the subtitles, because how many other people in the room knew what he was saying? He's giving this rousing speech about how like they got to do
Yeah.
what's right and all this shit. And I was like, yeah, dude, get after it. And then I'm like, no one
They feel
else.
the energy,
Yeah, no one fucking knows what he's talking about. Oh, that's
literally.
funny. Yeah. And then we get the Danish mother is kind of giving a similar speech to the other group, but it's hate filled instead of love filled and about doing the right thing.
And they just this escalates 0 to 100 so quickly. Everyone's got guns. Everyone's fighting on board, like with the whole goal of just protect the kid versus kill the kid. She just wants to chuck him overboard, which seems so cruel. Just shoot him in the head. Like if you're me, like if that's how I'm gonna go
Yeah.
out, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Throwing me overboard? But she doesn't have much of a choice because shit hits the fan, and then Maura sees her opportunity to go and save him. She gets very close, and Daniel doesn't appear until after he gets thrown overboard and then says like we got to get out of here, right? Like cuz I
Yeah.
think that was obviously part of the plan. I think whatever Daniel's idea and the little boy's plan is, like I think that was
Yeah.
part of it. Because what is we end up getting the quote saying like he looked like he was ready. for that, or
Yeah.
what it was it?
Yeah. Or it looked like he accepted his fate, essentially. I think it
It's
was
like he
more along the
accepted what was
lines.
coming. That was what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which, I mean, fuck, it totally does. It, I mean, I could see it like the boy doesn't talk. I could literally see it that like this is not the first time that this is like it seems like at some level there's some predetermined like they know almost what's going to happen. I could see that. And again, it goes back to the beetle thing of like it like not and I've used this word 18 million times, like the localized effect of like it's taking things and taking like a small area back into a different time. And I feel like it just when she said that he accepted his fate, it could also be that he's so confident that he's not going to die because he knows he can just teleport himself, basically.
That could be part of it, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know, but she
Because
fucking yeeted him. He got air.
oh yeah,
She didn't struggle.
all
She just
he didn't.
yeeted his
He
ass.
could have done something to preserve, save a couple, like just fight for like 2 or 3 seconds. But I guess it goes back to the idea that he probably wanted that to happen,
Yeah,
because now he's off the fucking grid, right? Like even though that all the good guys down in the hall or whatever you want to call it know that he's back because he literally reappears in the
yeah.
cabinets as like the mic drop last second moment, which was awesome. But like
I
they
was
don't
just,
know he's there,
yeah,
so
no, the bad guys don't. I was just thinking, like, imagine he actually was the only survivor from the ship. Like, he lasted out all those, like, 1,600 other people on the Prometheus, like, just fought to survive so hard, scrapped his way to living. And then this is how
mhm.
he went out. He finally gets on his ship. It's, like, full of people, and they got a bunch of coal, and they got all the
Yeah.
food, and he just gets yeeted off the ship into the ocean. Nah, he don't go out like that. And also, I was
Now
just
he's
thinking,
got something to do.
like this is totally what happened to the Prometheus. I feel like it's just probably playing out again. You know, like
You
people
think
start to
so?
drop dead. People start to drop dead, and then a mutiny happens, and that gets more people out because again, like how did everyone just like how did that many people die with like no trace?
So then I guess the
And the
question
place
becomes,
was trashed.
yeah, what, how would we get the ship back to the spot where the Prometheus was, like where it just was, because it needs to eventually end up back there. Then, if it's going to be if that is the future of the Cerberus.
Oh, okay. I didn't mean it as like they're the same ship. I'm just saying like it's the same events
Oh,
that have
okay,
happened. Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. Different time.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could, totally could. Anything's on
Yeah.
the fucking table with these guys.
Yeah, I guess. And then speaking of too of the Prometheus, it's not there anymore. They're not towing it, and they don't know
Right.
that yet.
No, they do.
Well, I guess they haven't talked about it yet because Captain his like plan when they're in the lifeboat area when they actually get caught, like he wants to get on the lifeboat and go to the Prometheus. But at that point, it wasn't there. Like they would have been fucked if they actually got on those boats and fucking started rowing out. There would have been no boat to get on.
But like Franz knows.
Oh yeah, they know.
Yeah, yeah, okay, cool. You're right. I don't know if the rest of them know. They should know by now though, because they were just on deck and you would be able to
Eh,
see it. I don't know,
there was a lot
but
going on.
we're gonna. Yeah, true.
They
A
were
lot
trying to
going
stay
on.
alive. I thought it was funny
Let's
too that he's like calling for like a retreat. It's just like it just seemed like it was like a cat fight, and now we're getting like retreat, retreat. It just made me laugh.
we missed the one piece with Lucien has his mini face off with Jerome when he steals his wife back, and then kind of runs away because he's also strapped. He's got a gun. I guess that's
Yeah,
worth noting too. They're not in the basement with the rest of the good guys. I guess, or don't they go to the dining hall? That's where the good guys go
the good
at
guys
the
go to the
end.
dining hall. Lucien and Clementine or Clemens, they go back to their room. I think just the two of them.
Okay.
I believe.
And then so we can just finish it out here.
Mhm.
Mara's talking with Daniel. We already said it's like he accepted what was coming. You see the burn mark on his ring finger at this point, Daniel, which we saw that the boy had the ring in his pocket an episode or two
Oh,
ago.
that's a great catch. Yeah.
I'm not really sure what's going on there, what that's kind of implying. I guess that's more ammo that the boy and him are the same person, maybe.
Mhm.
That's kind of what it's leading me to believe. But again, is it red herring? Is this what they want me to think? Who the fuck
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. And
And
she,
then
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
granted, it's like obviously an emotional moment because she believes that the boy was just murdered, but she like accepts his sympathy. I thought that
Yeah, it's
was
weird
just,
because he's been a creep all this freaking time.
yeah, that was
Like,
just something that I clocked. And you could
Yeah.
totally take that of like tinfoil hat of like, there's a level of familiarity there with this touch because it's her brother. And I'm not saying I'm going there, but you could say that.
Well, it seemed like Maura even was about to have a realization about Daniel. Like, is it because she saw the ring finger thing? Like, is she thinking,
Mm,
was she about to say, like, what the hell's going on here? But it gets all distracted because obviously the flash happens in the cabinet and then he just steps out with the pyramid again. Um, and then I guess also right before that too is we have the Captain Ike and Mara talking about the listing of her name there. But
mhm.
that's pretty much the end of this episode, and they come
I
in with
don't know,
that with the
man.
modern day riff of music, and then
That was
fucking
so good. The Bluish
yeah,
Cult was banging. I thought that was like, I was like bopping my head, like, let's
yep,
go. I wanted to
they're
start
good with
episode
that
five.
shit, man.
I wanted to start
They're
episode
good with
five
that stuff.
immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was like looking up the lyrics to the Reaper and everything, and I'm like, are they trying to tell us something here? Like, what's going on here? And I couldn't really find anything. All
wouldn't
our
put it
times
past
have
them.
come here, but now they're gone. Unless you have a localized beetle where you can experience all the times. I mean, there could be something there. Could be something there.
Could be. Yeah.
Could be. Could be. But also, I feel like Mara doesn't like react. Like there's a beat. She takes a beat before she says this is impossible, and you could take it totally like, oh, it's such a shocking thing that you're speechless and don't know what to say. But I don't know. There might have been something there.
Like as in she's not as surprised as everybody else.
Yeah, like it's not fully like an insane thing to her.
Ooh.
I
If
don't
that's
know.
the case, then there's some dynamic at play with her father where she was kind of in on like, or she knew about these experiments, and maybe that's why she's betraying her father and trying to wake up the people that she's fucking with in the asylum, and like trying to like overthrow her dad or something. Like there's something
Yeah,
there, I guess.
yeah. Who's on the inside? That's what we need to know. Someone's
Yeah.
on on the take.
Yes. That's and if it's not, I mean, my
If it's
guess
not
has
Daniel and the
been
boy,
Clementine, but like I don't think it's Clementine. I think it's dude, I don't know. I don't know who the fuck it is. Maybe it's freaking Mrs. Wilson. I don't know.
maybe it's friends.
Nah.
Yeah, they're both too flustered. And also, I just like that Daniel's just like not shocked that the boy's back.
Yeah.
Like it's
Like
just like, all right, the plan's going
that's his
swimmingly.
past. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. All right, it's working out really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just by nature of us talking about everything, we've kind of expended the whole clip of our theories and thoughts on things. So I don't think I have any like overarching
No,
kind of
I'm good.
discussion to
I
have here.
think it
Yeah.
might be worth bringing up now. It's still in discussion amongst us off pod, but so this is through episode 4. We got 4 more, right? It's 8 of them.
Yes.
I want to say we're gonna give the finale its own, so we might end up doing 3 more, being 5, 6, then 7, then 8. But if
Yeah.
not, we have 2 or 3 more episodes coming. This is still before it like dropped. Like we're recording this before it actually dropped for Netflix, but by the time that you guys hear this, I'm sure we'll at least have our 1 to 4 coverage out, like when it first drops, and just be on the lookout because we're gonna quickly and try and have 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8 out by next week.
Yeah, that's how the numbers go. Yeah, Netflix shows, like I said last episode, are kind of tough for us because they're all get dumped at once. And it's
Yeah.
like, are people even gonna go back and listen to the stuff? What's going on? So the 2 episodes kind of helps us get through it a lot easier. So yeah, so that wraps episodes 3 and 4 coverage. Just absolutely chomping at the bit to watch 5 and 6. So that'll probably be, if not tonight, tomorrow night, and tomorrow night for us. And we'll obviously try to get all these episodes out as quick as we can. Like Luke just said, if you like what you heard, please subscribe on whatever service you're listening on, whether it's YouTube or a podcast app, Apple, Spotify, everything under the sun. We have all of our social medias, I believe, are back to @BingeTown TV. So Twitter and Instagram. We would love, if you want to interact, if you want to tell us your theories, if you want to take a dump on our theories, tell us something we missed, tell us something we're misinterpreting, all the above. We would love to have those conversations. We have a website, bingetowntv.com, just like our entire catalog. It's probably a little bit easier to find all the shows that we do and kind of look at all the episodes through the website versus just having to scroll all the way through like Apple and Spotify. So if you're interested in going back to look at the other shows we've covered, I would definitely do the website option just to at least get a look at it. Patreon.com/BingetownTV is is the way to support us monetarily. If you feel so inclined, we would just really appreciate that. That would be nice just to know we have that level of support out there. And we're not covering any other shows at the moment. Am I right and wrong in saying that?
Rick and Morty should be coming back at some
Oh,
point. I
true.
think it's next week.
Yeah. Okay. So Rick and Morty episodes will probably be coming out at the same time as this. And yeah, that's all I got. So thanks for listening.